Hello and welcome. I hope everyone is having a good day out there. And I figured I would do a brief, or not a brief review, as long as I want a review of one of my favorite action films. I mean, it doesn't have to be the most complicated action film, um, but it technically is one of my favorites. I mean, I put it on when I don't really have anything else to watch because I get a kick out of it. I really enjoy the movie. I really do think that it's an underrated movie. And sure, it's a simple movie, but here it is. It's Blind Fury, by with Rucker Hauer. Now, God bless Sony. God bless Columbia, whatever you want to call them these days. They actually put multiple things on Blu-rays. I have another disc that has Hard Bodies and Private Resort, so you can just toggle back and forth between Hard Bodies and Private Resort. In fact, I have no idea why I don't just put that on every day. It's such a awesome double feature. So if you just put on these two discs, you had a whole day's worth of movies. If you think about that, Hard Bodies, Private Resort, Blind Fury, Silent Rage, White Line Fever. Those are good titles. Those are exciting movies. Those are funny movies, exciting movies, exactly what you'd like. And we're only going to be reviewing the Blind Fury right now. It only goes at 86 minutes, so it's definitely a movie that I recommend. You know, just get in, get on, get out with your life. Whatever the cliche is. It's actually produced by Tim Matheson and another guy, Daniel Grodnick. I find that to be really interesting. Interscope Communications had a part in this. Randall Tex Cobb in one of his more intimidating roles. Terry O'Quinn. Noble Willingham as McGrady. Rucker Hauer in one of his best roles. And they got a really good production work with Robert Court. And the music, I think, is a definite by J. Peter Robinson, one of the selling what dun 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 dun. It's like this twang of a guitar. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 like that. So I always like doing the music if I can. Rucker Hauer is injured in the Vietnam War. He goes blind, but he becomes master of the sword. And you see that master of the sword, avenger of the truth, and blind as a bat. Don't know if that's a PC way of calling a blind person blind. I don't know, but I don't really hear much about blind rights. So I'm sticking up for them for just out of moral that I need to. Blinded and left to die in Vietnam, Nick Parker has been missing in action for more than 2 decades. Finally home, he sets out to find and forgive his old army buddy, Frank Devereaux, forced to cook up designer drugs for a corrupt casino boss. Devereaux talks, putting Devereaux talks, putting his wife and son in danger, caught in the middle of a henchman in close pursuit. Nick uses his highly tuned senses to escape. They put a lot more words than they need to, but it is a cross-country battle. That's how it ends there. I love all the scenes where he's in the Mexican restaurant and the homie puts like a bunch of hot sauce on the dude's taco because he's blind. And then Rucker Hauer reacts to it and says it's not hot enough. And then basically they purse snatch some hot looking broad. And then once that broad is purse snatched, they hey, come here, Curly. You get a dog up on here for the interview or for the review. Get up here. Welcome in here, boo boo. Come here. And so they purse snatched that one broad, and then the guy that put the hot sauce on, all them, they start trying to beat up on Rucker Hauer, and they ain't too successful at it because he can use like anything as a weapon, and he's blind, all that. So these are based on a series of Japanese movies. I think there's 22 of them. The Zatoichi films, I believe. I may be getting the name wrong, but I may have seen one of them back in the day, but I won't be able to tell you much. From what I do remember about what I did see, if it was just a clip or what, definitely a more varied tone throughout the films, from what I've read and what I've seen. So I really like the very specific tone of this one, endearing you towards the mission at hand, for Rucker Hauer, as he's one of the only gentlemen with honor in the film. He goes to whatever lengths possible to protect Brandon Call, who is Terry O'Quinn's son and also Meg Foster's son. You get those beautiful eyes of Meg Foster in here. And in this movie, she's basically just playing a victim. I mean, she's a strong woman, whatever. She's a victim, though. She gets killed by Randall Tex Cobb and a bunch of henchmen. And very sad how they get rid of her and all that. But then, as her dying words are, please take care of my son. Bring him to his father, I guess. So, I always kind of think he'd be better off with Rucker Hauer, because clearly this Terry O'Quinn guy has made a bunch of poor decisions that has put him on the path where he's cooking up drugs. He's basically like being Heisenberged out, or he's basically like a character in Breaking Bad, cooking up all these designer drugs, and uh, he's the one that maybe I never what it said on the back of the Blu-ray that he was left for dead by Terry O'Quinn, and he's trying to go to forgive him. I never really caught that much from it. All I know is the first 10 minutes of the movie are kind of murky, and that he loses his sight in something during Vietnam. So anyway, them saying all that, that's interesting, and them that he's going to really even involve himself with this Terry O'Quinn character still. If that's indeed true, that shows even more about this guy's honor, that he has a high sense of honor. So Siskel and Ebert loved this movie, or I don't know if they loved it, but I think one or two of them liked it. I think they liked it, guilty pleasure type thing, how they would like movies sometimes. But I really don't think there's much of a guilty pleasure about it. I think the movie does have its tongue in its cheek at times, however, and that it's basically serves it to the good, especially in the more freewheeling parts when they're on the road to Reno. The sad parts, yeah, I mean, the boy has to learn that his mother was just killed, but the boy kind of should have realized that. So a little bit of some logic, as the boy seems like a real smartass, but he can't put two and two together that when he woke up, his mother was dead. Because what happens in that scene is they shove the boy to the ground and he hits his head and he's I guess unconscious, and then he wakes up and Rucker Hauer is en route to a train station with him, and they almost get caught at the train station because clearly Rucker Hauer is not the kid's father, and the boy starts acting up. But then the boy knows that he's trying not to make trouble. He's going to try to go see his father, and the worst thing that he could do is probably end up in the foster system by ending up by ratting out this old blind dude that's just trying to help. So the kid's got to go to heart too, because the kid could have pushed this dude's buttons a little bit more, and then Rucker Hauer would be in prison for kidnapping or for murder and kidnapping, because Randall Tex Cobb killed this dude's mother with the cooperation of the local Tampa Bay Police Department. So it would be quite difficult to wrap a case around anyone but Rucker Hauer, because obviously Rucker Hauer is blind, and they could say he's crazy and made up the whole thing that Meg Foster was killed by a bunch of crazy people coming in to kill him, and all that. So the movie's pretty airtight, pretty tight little movie too, at 86 minutes. I highly recommend that you check out Blind Fury. I might be doing a commentary for it, so when I do that, I'd probably put some more facts and stuff about the movie as well. I had heard something that there'd be a sequel, perhaps a reboot or a rebranding of the movie of some kind. I would be really open to that. I really feel the sequel. I mean, Rucker Hauer is clearly still moving around and stuff. It would have been great to get a sequel in the 15 years, maybe afterwards. That would have been a golden time for it. But since it didn't occur, you can't change it. You can have a sequel now. That would be great. I really do like Noble Willingham's performance. I really like Tex Cobb's performance. Lisa Blunt does a good job. The boy actor, Brandon Call, he's asked to be annoying. He's asked to push Rucker Hauer's buttons. So it's not one of them child actors' performance that does anything beyond. I mean, he does exactly what's asked of him, and his job is to somewhat annoy. So sometimes there's this fine line with child actors where they're being annoying or they're playing an annoying character, or an annoying character that comes around in this kid's favor, where he ends up I mean, spoiler alert, missing the Blind Fury character once he's gone. So I highly recommend that you explore this movie for its great action scenes. He basically is blind. He's not blind in real life, but he does a really thorough and good job of showing what it would be like, and the camera does a good job of showing what it would be like to show how you can sense where the next attacker is coming from behind a wall, for instance, in one part, or just in general, he's really good with a sword, and he's really good. And I like this one part; it's very clever, where he loses his stick or whatever. So he tells the boy to keep counting from when the stick fell out of their van, and then when they go backwards and drive back, he just doesn't start counting again. So he looks in that particular area. So you can tell that this is something that we're all forced to adapt to things over time as our bodies and our minds change, versus something that Rutger Hauer has done to adapt. And I think that's very strong scene, very important characteristics, and very mindful at all times to make sure that no one thinks that this character is anything but blind. And I think the illusion is really, really sold quite well. I don't think Tim Matheson went on to producing many other films, but I'll look into that. But he did a really good job with this one, and he probably made a little bit of a profit back. I don't think it was a big hit, but having not cost much and being in theaters just a little bit, I know it did pretty well on video, and obviously people like it through the years. But go ahead and do yourself a favor and check out Blind Fury. When Columbia Pictures would make a ridiculous amount of action and genre pictures, this definitely fits into that category. And I think Rutger Hauer, honestly, is one of my favorite action stars. I'm looking forward to posting all reviews to his movies here. You got Wanted Dead or Alive and several others. Looking forward to seeing um, a little bit more from him in movies, and or in general looking for some more of his movies to see. So if you know of any, go ahead and let me know. And very much appreciate you checking out the Blind Fury review. I reviewed Night of the Living Dead a little bit earlier. Go ahead and like the channel or not or whatever. Subscribe, and really appreciate it here at the Barbecue Network. We're building something big here, and really appreciate it and glad to be part of it with